you want to rotate an object in 3D space that isn't aligned to global axes, this is going to be the tutorial for it. Debugging these things, you should get started by turning on the move gizmo. That way you can see where local axes, if you set this to local, you can see where the object is actually pointed. Now, if you move an object somewhere and you go into edit mode and rotate it randomly, it doesn't affect the origin. So now you can see the origin's pointing somewhere and the mesh is pointing somewhere else. That can sometimes happen, but you might want to rotate about this edge now. And if you try and do that in global mode, you'll see it's basically when selecting the active element, which is going to be the edge, is basically impossible because the axe is not aligned with anything global. And if you try local, also doesn't work because the local axis of this object is also somehow off. So how do you tell Blender to rotate about this now? Well, there is this feature where you can set global transforms, and this little plus sign creates custom ones. And if you press it, you can see it adds something called face down here now for me. It depends on what you've got selected. So if I go back and delete this and only select the edge and press the plus sign again, it creates now a new orientation called edge. I'm just going to call it custom orientation. Well, whatever, custom is fine. And now since we got this selected, the arrows point in different directions now. And this is global, so if we go out of edit mode, we still see custom up here. And if we now create a new object, say something like an empty, then you can now see it's, despite being originally aligned to global axes, I still got these gizmos that point in the directions that the custom edge used to be at. If we go back to global, points into global directions. Local, well, it's the same because it hasn't been rotated, but custom is now referencing this edge, which is beneficial to us. Because if we use snap mode up here, we turn on snap mode and tell it to snap to something like edges or vertices. I'm just going to go ahead and say edge. And if I move it now to this edge, it snaps to it like that. But it's not oriented in the same way yet. And to fix that, Blender has a feature with the object you want to rotate selected. Go to Object, Transform, Align to Transform Origin. And that references this custom one up here. So if I press it, you can see it perfectly aligns now to that edge. And that is actually very beneficial. But you can also see it's, well, one axis is aligned, the y-axis of my, I think the y-axis of my object, right? Yeah. Local and custom are now the same. So this is fine, but the x and z axes are not perfect yet. Reason being they're at a 45-degree angle because the faces that the edge was connected to uses these faces. So how do we change it, well, to be aligned with, say, this face, for example? Well, in order to do that, we would have to create another custom entry here. I'm just going to delete the previous one. We go back to this cube, select the face, select the edge we want to reference, this one. And now, if I create another orientation, plus, you'll see it's now aligned to the face because I have the face, well, selected. If it creates one somewhere in the center, make sure you've got active element selected. The last active element I used was the edge, so that's why it went to this place. And now if I go back to my empty and tell it again to align to my face origin, now all three axes are perfectly aligned, which is kind of cool. And if I now parent the cube to my empty like that, and rotate the empty based on, well, either the face or the local orientation it's now got, it rotates about the proper axis, which is what I wanted, despite the cube itself having a completely different local orientation pointing just somewhere else.